Hi, my name is Rogan and I've been passionate about personal finance for a number of years now. And today we're going to go through the biggest mistakes you're making in your 20s that's holding you back financially. Now, if you're in your 20s, there's a good chance you're making at least one financial mistake that could cost you over £100,000 in the long run. Now, some of these mistakes may seem trivial and may seem too simple, but that's the reason why so many of us fall into them. Nobody's telling us what we should or shouldn't do. But I want you to learn from my experience, and these are the mistakes that I wish I knew when I was 20, so I knew how to avoid them. We're going to rank them from number 8 as the least important to the most important, and my word, the last one will really surprise you. I'll get on the computer, I'll show you the numbers, and you will see why it is such a big mistake. Taking time off work, especially in your 20s, you may think, well, I'm only going to miss out on my first pay slip and it's probably not going to be that much anyway. And you're probably right. But it's not the first pay slip you'll miss out on, it's your last and your biggest pay slip. So if I say to you that if you do not take your gap year, you will be guaranteed your biggest pay slip for a whole nother year. Do you really think you're going to take that gap year? I'm not saying it's a terrible idea. Some people are in a situation where they can take a gap year, but if you are one of those people that is thinking, should I go into the job market or should I take a year off and travel, I would 100% recommend to get into work as soon as possible. You can always travel in your holidays. Buying things that make you look successful can seem like a good idea in your 20s. When you get that first wad of cash, you think, great, now I can upgrade my phone, I can buy that new bike, or whatever you fancy. But it's actually not really helping to build your wealth. What really will build your wealth is investing into something in the stock market without spending all your money on materialistic things. So a key thing for this point is, the harder you try and look successful, the less you'll actually be successful. So just be careful of what you spend your money on. Saving on a month-to-month basis is a very good habit to have. So I'm very happy if you're one of those people that is taking some of your money and saving it in your bank account. But saving doesn't necessarily equal wealth. Investing in stocks and assets that appreciate over time, that's what really builds wealth. Because if you're just putting money into your bank account every month, the number might be going up, but the value of that is actually decreasing because of inflation. Every year things get more expensive, and if your lump sum in your bank account is staying the same, staying stagnant, not earning any interest, you are actually losing value over time. So be very careful when you think saving is equal wealth. It isn't. Lifestyle inflation is so easy to fall into when you're in your 20s. When you're surrounded by friends that maybe are doing well and you come into a bit more money, you want to increase your lifestyle, you look at buying a new car or getting a bigger flat or moving out of home. All these things are possible, but what you must be careful of is spending your whole increased pay slip on things that you may not need. It's very, very important that you try be a bit more frugal with your money so that when you come into more money, it doesn't just splash it.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
There's a reason why a lot of lottery winners go broke after a few years, because they have no idea what to do with it. And their lifestyle just dramatically increases. They're buying mansions and they're buying new cars. And
Fun coupons! Yeah?
that's what lifestyle inflation is. They think, oh, I've got all this money, but before you know it, they're broke. And I know that's an extreme example, but it's one that happens. So I want to caution you that when you come into more money, just be careful what you do with it. If you're saving first and spending later, by all means, spend with whatever you've got left. But if you're saving 10% of your previous payslip, you should still save 10%, maybe even increase that to 12% of your biggest payslip, because those percentages in value will be bigger. Jumping into property too early can be a great financial decision. but depending on what type of person you are. I want to caution you on and highlight some things that people don't really speak about when buying property. When you're in your 20s, you're at your most malleable. Well, now what that means is you can change, you can move house, you can move cities, depending on the opportunities that arise. But if you buy a house, you are unable to move. You are unable to just take that risk. You actually bog down and you have to stay there for the next 20 years. Yes, you might be able to move out, but then you're paying a mortgage and rent. And if you're doing that in your 20s, that's really impressive.
Yeah, boy.
But if you're someone that's just got one job and you're thinking, I'm going to get into property early so I don't have to pay rent, that way when I'm 40, I'll own the property and then I can change. Just be very careful of the opportunistic cost, because you're putting a big lump sum as your deposit and you have to stay there for a long period of time. So just be careful before you jump into that property. When you're in your 20s, you're probably not earning that much money. And it might sound like a counterintuitive point. Don't worry too much about investing, but try earn more money. Well, the simple reason for this point is you can only invest with what you have. So if you would like to invest more, you need to increase what you can earn. Now, you can do this through a number of ways. You can have a side hustle, you can have a part-time job, you could even invest in yourself to learn a new skill so you can get promoted at work. Now, these things you should always look at, because investing is not the be-all and end-all. You have to have enough money so that you can pay for your expenses and still grow your wealth through investing. So don't worry too much about investing, but focus on building your earnings. Having no system can hold you back, because what that does is makes you rely on intention. And relying on intention, especially in your 20s, is possibly not the best thing to do, because what you're doing is you're trying to convince yourself that, okay, by the end of the month, with whatever I have left, I will invest. Now that's completely wrong. What you should do is set up an automatic system that as you get paid, it will automatically pay yourself first and invest your money. It's very important because these systems work in the background. You don't have to every month sit down and allocate money and invest it. If you set up an automatic debit straight into your investment account, you will see a dramatic change even in your appearance, because you're not going to have to worry, can I buy this coffee? Can I go out with my mates? You can just do it because what you have in your account is there to spend, because all your investments have already been made. So set up automatic systems. This is crucial. Delaying investing is the biggest mistake you can make in your 20s. Now, if you're one of those people that are sitting there and you're thinking about investing but you're not quite sure how, don't worry, we'll help you through it in other videos. And also there's plenty of other videos online that you can use to help you start. But delaying your investing is such a big mistake because it is holding you back financially. And soon I'm going to take you through the calculations. I'm going to show you how time impacts investments. Now, when you're in your 20s, the biggest asset you have is time. It's not about investing in the right stock. It's not about buying Bitcoin at the dip. It's about being in the stock market for a long period of time. You'll see if you check Warren Buffett's net worth, over time, you can see the compound interest growth, and that is just due to time in the market. It is so important that you start early and start with what you have. You may be thinking, well, what happens if I only have £50? That's fine. Start with £50. You don't have to have £200 to £500 a month to save. You will get there. Start with what you have, because 10% of something is better than 100% of nothing. As promised, I'm going to explain to you the impact that time has on your investments. Today we're going to go over two examples. The first example will be if you start late. Let's say you only start investing at 30 years old, and we will do all investments up until the ages of 60. So let's say you start with nothing. You're 30 years old until 60, so that's 30 years. You'll invest in the S&P 500, and that averages about 10% per annum. And let's say you only contribute $200. That's not taking into account that in that time you would have increases and you could probably invest more. But for the ease of the calculations, let's keep it simple. If you had to do that, your total contribution would be $72,000 and it would have grown to $412,000. Now that seems like a huge jump, and you can see here your interest is way bigger than your contributions. But I want to break it down and I want to say, let's only invest $50 and we'll start at 20 until the ages of 30, and we'll also start with nothing. This doesn't look like a lot of money. Your total contributions for 10 years would be $6,000 and it would have grown to $9,993. But where the big difference comes in is when you use that as your principal amount of $993. You do it for 30 years because now you're 30 years old and you want to invest in the S&P 500 at $200 per month. Let's see what that climbs to. $586,000. Now that is a massive, massive difference. And to give you an idea, by only investing $6,000 more between the ages of 20 and 30 years old, you would have been able to grow your money to $174,000 more than if you didn't start in your 20s. So I hope now that you can see these numbers and you can realize that start now and start with what you have. The idea is not to be obsessed about money and to be obsessed about investing. The idea is to just avoid making the big mistakes, because if you do that, it'll drastically improve your chances in building wealth. If you're someone that's sitting on the other side of the screen and you're thinking, shit, you've just highlighted several mistakes that I'm actually making, please take action. It's not too late. And if you're in your 20s, you still got loads of time. My job is to just highlight these mistakes so you don't fall into the trap and only realize it when you're much older and there's nothing you can do. Time is still on your side. Don't panic. If you like this video and you want to hear more content on this and how to improve your personal finances, we'll go over what is the right decision when buying houses or renting, what type of investments should you buy, and how to invest itself. We're going to cover all of that in this channel. So stay with us, like and subscribe so you can tune in for the next video. Cheers, thanks.